quick message to you today about how you can turn what's happening right now into your greatest opportunity. You know, we've got students from all over the world who are getting better because of this. Now, free training for you, ballroommastery.com. Check it out. There's a little planner there for those who love to be a little nerdy and plan everything out. It's a video that accompanies it well, so you can download it, run through a bit of a regime. But I think fundamentally, the thing that we all have to grasp, and myself included, is that when change is thrust upon us, it's our reaction and our response to it that counts. Now, most people are reacting in the sense of fight, flight, and freeze. They're freaking out. They're like, oh my God, it's an epidemic. It's a pandemic. My life is over. I don't know what I'm going to do. My business is shut. My career is on hold. My city is sick and I'm in lockdown, or I don't know where to go. My relationships are suffering. I'm self-isolating. And so I'm like sort of on the edge with my nails just digging in. Like whatever spectrum you're on, because where we are right now, we're in a sort of stage 2 where things are semi-normal, but it's weird, right? Because there's like no end in sight. So people are going around, but they're like, hey, like, achoo, what did you just do, right? And so you've got this very strange place. And so I've also had to make these adjustments in my own life. I had to look at it and go, where's the opportunity, right? Where in the nerdy speak of entrepreneurial world, how do you pivot and make it yours, right? And so, but I wanted to bring a message of encouragement to you and say that you can be better throughout this situation than when you went into it. But it won't happen by chance. It's going to happen by response versus reacting. So a response is, you know, in a way, it's that responsibility, you know, being response-able, right? So it's like you see the event happen, the situation, the circumstance, and then you look at it uncritically and you choose and decide how you will interpret the event. So for example, somebody takes your car space. By all means, if you want to get pissed off, go for it. But they aren't going to be annoyed because of that. You are. So if you need to vent, vent. But also remember that at the same moment, you have a choice on how you respond to the event that just took place. You can look at it and you can make your own assumptions about it. A person could be a dick. A person could be just not thinking. They're unconscious. They're not aware. It's like have pity on them, because if that's what they're like cutting me off, God knows what the shape of their relationship are like in life, right? Because you know if that's how they're doing it there, they're doing it elsewhere. And so, you know, that's an awareness, you know. That response isn't taught, but it's something you can self-teach, right? It's something you can practice, I should say, because I don't think you ever make it fully automatic. You know, I get bitter, I get petty, I get envious and jealous, you know, I have those emotions hit me sometimes, but you got to know how to deal with them, right? These are part of the coping mechanisms. And I think now more than ever, we're seeing the world shift so fundamentally, and not only to just online, you know, moving from dance studios closing to doing lessons online, for example, for a lot of people, and yoga practices moving online, and, you know, basically the entire gig economy going online and benefiting. There's so much change happening emotionally with people that it's very hard to know how to navigate waters that you can't see the end of. It's sort of like being thrust into the middle of the Atlantic. You know, if you don't have a life raft, you're going to drown. Or you hope and pray that you'll make it out alive. And the hope and pray method is not necessarily the one you just want to rely on. You know, you want to have tangible things. So what I would recommend, first and foremost, is know up front that you have a power in you that flows to and through you. And the way you direct it, that's what we call life, right? So we get this ability to go, I'm going to take this power, this energy that flows to and through me, and I'm going to direct it towards an outcome, whatever that may be, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, life doesn't judge. We make the judgment calls. So we can direct this power. So what does that mean? We can choose what we do in any set of circumstances. Recently, I was on a training, or doing a training currently with my Ballroom Mastery Academy graduates, and I was talking to them about Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Look, get this book. If you are struggling right now, take stock in the fact that there have been worse situations that the world has been through, such as World War II, right, where Nazi-occupied Germany had those concentration camps. And Viktor Frankl was in there, a Viennese psychiatrist, and he wrote Man's Search for Meaning because he managed to survive 4 of these camps. Mother and wife died in these camps. Come through it, not only analyze the situation and his response to the situation where he was totally out of control, But he was like, what can man derive as meaning from the worst situation that you can possibly be put in as a human, where you have no idea if you're going to come out of this alive, and in fact, you're threatened daily? But then he also noticed something interesting in these camps. He noticed that people laughed. There was humor. People didn't just sit in the fetal position. There was this weird irony of like, it's going to be okay, even though it's not, right? And he goes, but then there were people that didn't have that at all. There were people that felt the complete opposite, and all they did was give into that circumstance they were in. All they could do is see the world that they were surrounded by and believe that to be the only thing. They didn't have any hope of the future in that sense, right? And he said, those are the people that didn't last. And not the ones that just got plucked at random and killed. He said the ones that didn't last, even if they managed to survive the camps like I did, they became alcoholic or they just couldn't recover, was because of that mindset. And he said, of all the traits we look at human beings, of what you could call success, whatever that low tier word means, he said, the last vestige of human freedoms is to choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances. Now, if he can say that after going through hell on earth for years, losing his wife and his mother, and of course friends, come out of it and go, we have the ability to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances. And that is where we derive our meaning in life, fundamentally. What does that say for us in this current situation? We have a choice. We get to choose our response to this, because it's not going to be what we planned, right? We didn't plan on this. I didn't plan on having to shut my business for 3 or 4 months. Turned out to be a blessing to be able to spend the time with my new son, right? But that's not the same for everyone. Some people are really suffering, but you have a choice on how you have the attitude. Now, attitude's an interesting word, right? Because this is not, please don't think this is about a positive versus negative mindset, right? Again, it is beyond that. It is about understanding the meaning in the situation, because terrible things can be happening, but you got to have the attitude towards it that you're going to come out of it. Now, you may not feel necessarily good about that. Like, I struggle sometimes with every day the news is changing, not sure what I'm going to do. We've just reopened our studio, don't know if that's going to last, right? Things online are growing exponentially, so that's great, but now I have to keep up with new demand, right? So like, it's this weird paradox of all these things shifting and happening much quicker than I ever thought, but I have to maintain the correct attitude towards it. And it isn't like the blasé positive thinking of, it'll just be okay, I've just got to see the good in it. It's like, that helps, but remember, things can also be terribly wrong in some people's lives. And like, really bad things can happen. But having that deep core knowing that at the end of the day, you can come out stronger, that's an attitude, right? Knowing that if a ship departs a harbor and it's 1 degree off course, by the time it gets to its destination, it would be thousands of kilometers in the wrong direction, right? That's an attitude shift in your life. If you just decide to wake up and be grateful for 2 or 3 things when your feet touch the floor, that's an attitude shift that can change your life. If you just don't get as annoyed at your partner because you're in the same house with them for so long, attitude shift that makes you win, right? These are the things that you have choice over. Despite what's going on with the economy, despite what's happening with elections, despite what's happening with government responses to all of this, because you have zero control over that. But you have a choice with what is an individual you're going to do with the information. Now, what I would believe is another pillar here is that you would choose to provide value in this market. You would look at the world and go, okay, I can't dance, then dance at home, for God's sake. Like, stop making excuses. Dance wherever you are. Your body doesn't know the difference, right? Your body doesn't know I'm in the studio now, so it's going to dance. Your body is your body in time and space, 24/7. It's constantly there. Your brain never switches off. You go to sleep consciously. Your brain is still working unconsciously all the time, healing your body, making your body survive, and also wanting you to do the bare minimum, by the way, not the most. Your brain is not wired for maximum output at the moment. It's actually trying to survive and minimize your activity to hide the calories, to hold on to things so you don't do things and die. So that's why people say I struggle with motivation, is because their brain is trying to hold them in place so you don't do too much. That's one of the reasons why people need a studio to go to. But you want to connect to something bigger than that. Like, see this as an opportunity to make your dancing better, right? See this as an opportunity to be stronger. Dance at your own home, dance in the backyard. Your body doesn't know any different, right? It'll make you feel better. It'll release better hormones. You can come out with better skills. I've got emails from students all over the world already improving for months. They said, I'm better now than when I have my studio open. It's like, yeah, because your body doesn't know, right? Because it's about your mindset. It's about the attitude. It's the way you approach it. All right. I'd also say that it'd be very cool for you to provide value. So look at what you can do for others in this economy. What can you do for people? What can you make, create, and give that is your skill set that'll help other people? For me, it's training. I love doing these things. So, hey, what's going on? Awesome to have you on the page. Love having you as a fan. Super grateful you're here. Otherwise, I'd be talking to no one, right? But provide something that will help somebody else. Drop some groceries off on their front door. Say freaking hello. Go offer a neighbor a hand. Like, people are home. They're lonely. They're bored. They're starving for attention. The point is, what can you do that's of service? If you have that attitude, think about what we could do collectively. You see, we can't do a lot individually as the government chooses to do X, Y, and Z. But as an individual, and in any place, this is where change begins, is in the individual before we can go community, national, international, and global. The individual must change, right? So you look at yourself and go, what's a skill I can create? What's something new I can develop within myself? What is something I can do that's of value to another person? And the forced change that you put upon yourself to do that attitude shift, it has an impact on someone else. Now, if another person decides to have the same attitude shift as you and to be influenced from your action because you chose to respond to the environment the way it is right now, and then they decide to do the same thing, you create a shift. And the way to think about this is like you alter the entire coastline the minute you throw a pebble in there. Now, you can't see it with your eyes, but there's vibration that happens, right? On the molecular level, through time and space, the molecules of the ocean are completely altered from one ripple. That's the power you have. Now, if that's one word, think of the impact you can make. If that's an action, think of the impact you make in that person's life. And that matters. You matter. What you do matters, right? Don't think it doesn't. Because that might influence them to do something else. And then that influences the next person. Then collectively, we actually change the environment, right? That's how you make shifts in the world. It's one of the reasons why businesses are the backbone of a country. Because they're the individuals that stuck their hand up and took the risk to basically get underpaid and overworked, because do not make the mistake of thinking of small businesses making much money. What happens is the opposite. They do something they love to get paid less than what they would if they were working a career job. And they work twice the hours, right? And what ends up happening is they're picking an idea and executing on it, which allows other people to enjoy the benefits and fruits of. Right? Now, if you string 100,000 of those type of things together, whether it's a vineyard, whether it's a cafe, whether it's someone who does self-authoring programs for university students, or whatever the vocation is in that small business, that is actually how you make change, because the individual who controls the business has influence over a sphere of people. And so if they decide to make a shift, they change the people that are around them, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, and you only have to see this on the negative side of things, where somebody abuses that power and hurts people, to see how much of an effect that can actually have on individuals. And then that has an effect on a society and largely on locally and then internationally, right? So you can see that's what ends up occurring. It's the ripple effect. So keep in mind that even though this could be the worst thing that we're faced as, you know, I'm only in my 30s, so I've got a lot of life left. I've got a lot of things to do. There is so much I haven't experienced. But there is nothing like this I've seen. It's worse than a recession in that case. Having said that, it's only the meaning I derive, right? So where is the opportunity? What can I do as an individual that'll make my life better? For me, this is one of those things I want to do. Bring some knowledge to you. Bring some things I've learned that help me. My takeaway for you today would be, pick something within yourself that you hook into. A skill you want to develop. I would suggest dancing. Get your butt off the couch. Don't tell me you don't have time, because now you've got more time than ever. And don't tell me you don't have a studio, because your body doesn't know if it has a studio or not, right? Like, just start doing some form of movement and do 10 minutes a day, right? If you do 10 minutes a day, you are going to be so much stronger than if you did 1 hour a week, okay? So that will compound over the next few months. And you watch, you just trust me on this in the process. You will get better just doing it this way, because you want to do more than 10 minutes once you make it a habit, okay? Now, That's my message for today. Go rock it out, go crush it, like make someone else's life amazing because you chose to create the response that you wanted with your attitude, whatever that may be. And when your attitude falls off track, because it will, you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, I get cranky, right? Things happen. You shift back and you try to find the good in situations. You do your best to make that 1 degree shift and you do your best to bring value. You do that every day, we're going to make a big change overall. This has been Vaughn. I love bringing to you. Go to ballroommastery.com for free planner, ballroommastery.tv for free masterclasses. Come and dance with me, baby. I'll help you. I'll keep you up, motivated, and best of all, master your ballroom and Latin dance.